Ben Stein went on Fox Business Network to trash AOC, and he said some genuinely insane things. Check this out.
Learning that. I mean, they've tried, right? They tried, and Hugo Chavez had all kinds of promises, just like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Maduro had the same kind of promises. In fact, and we're going to show this a little bit later, the former vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, I say former because we no longer recognize her regime there with Maduro, she'll sit there and tell you with a straight face that Venezuela is the model of the world, despite the fact that 90% of the people live in poverty. Venezuela has figured it out. I just hope, Ben, we don't go through the same kind of incarnations and challenges that they have had to deal with.
Well, it depends on education. I mean, we have a society in which there are an awful lot of people who have no idea that Stalin, Hitler, Mao Zedong all came to power promising the same kinds of things that Ms. Ocasio-Cortez is promising, and it led to mass murder, it led to dictatorship, it led to genocide. These promises are old promises, and they invariably lead to bad things. The promise of just saying to people, do what you can within the law to make your life better, your family's life better, that system works extremely well. Capitalism is a system that allows people to make something of themselves instead of oppressing other people. It's an incredibly good system. Making money is one of the most harmless things there is to do in the whole world, and that's what our society is about. It's not about ordering people around, putting them in concentration camps. What do you do if a person is a richer person and a poorer person? What do? You take him away? Do you shoot him? Well, that's what the communists tried. It didn't work out very well for them. And in the end of the day, we wound up in Russia with one of the most unequal societies there's ever been in the world. In Vietnam, which promised all these things, we wind up with one of the most corrupt countries in the world. In Venezuela, I don't know how corrupt it is, but people say it's one of the most corrupt countries in the world.
Pretty corrupt.
We don't wind up with the promises that people made.
They're comparing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, first of all, to Venezuela. She has literally never once said that's a system she supports. In fact, the example given by Bernie Sanders and by this new wave of populist left Democrats, and really they're in favor of social democracy, but the example they give is Scandinavia. So why do you keep bringing up Venezuela? Why do you keep bringing up the Soviet Union? Why do you keep bringing up examples that they don't give? It's almost like you have no real rebuttal, so you just straw man them. Listen, ultimately, guys, I need you to understand something. This doesn't hurt them. This helps them. This helps Bernie Sanders. This helps AOC. Why? Honestly, it's a lot like what happened with the Trump effect with the media in 2016. They were so relentless in going after Donald Trump that they no longer cared about how they go after Donald Trump. So oftentimes they would go after him, honestly, for dumb reasons. Like they would go after him because he curses. That's not a good argument against him. I remember one time they melted down for a couple days because he said on the campaign trail that TPP will rape you. Like, will rape the country or something like that. He used the word rape. So they literally invited on, like, people who had been raped to say, like, I can't believe he used that word. Listen, you want to talk about missing the point. What you're doing is you're fucking broadcasting to the world that this guy's against TPP, which is going to outsource your job, and you, mainstream media, are for it, and you're getting angry over mouth noises you don't approve of. So he got billions of dollars worth of free advertising. Now, most of that coverage was negative coverage, but it didn't matter because you're so bad at your job, you're so bad at generating outrage, you're getting outraged at all the wrong things that you helped them. That's exactly what's going on with mainstream media, definitely with Fox News and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and these same characters and Bernie Sanders. They can't help themselves. They have to attack. And then when they attack, they end up saying stupid shit like this, where Ben Stein just compared AOC to Stalin, Hitler, and Mao. Son, literally nobody who's not already up their own ass and drunk on Fox News is going to go, yeah, that seems pretty reasonable. Even if somebody doesn't like her, they're going to go, I don't know, man. Comparing her to Stalin, Hitler, and Mao seems a little bit extreme. So what you're doing is you're preaching to a tiny, like, fucking 5% sliver of the country, and now you're making it so the other 95% is like, huh? You seem desperate, you seem ridiculous, and obviously you're not representing her accurately. And that's the point. So listen, that host, I think Trish Regan is her name, she tried this once with Scandinavia. I think it was with Denmark. She did this segment about how Denmark is a hellhole. Yeah. And then a politician from Denmark responded, and she was obliterated. She was curb stomped on another level where we need to come up with another word for it. It was like a super curb stomp. That wasn't very creative, Kyle, but nonetheless, I'm trying. It was like she was laying. They took the bones out of her body and left her a jello mass on the ground. That's what the politician from Scandinavia did to her. And then it was like a thing that was mocked regularly. Bernie Sanders met with this politician and they laughed about it. So that's what happens when they try to actually take you on directly on what you actually believe. They come out looking hilariously stupid. So what's the strategy now? I don't know, just overreach and straw man. So now we tried to compare you to Venezuela and Cuba and the Soviet Union. That's step one. That's a straw man. Now we're going to go to step two straw man. Stalin, Hitler, and Mao. So the politicians, AOC, Bernie Sanders, the rest of the Justice Democrats, they want to fight to end the wars. You're for wars, but somehow they're like Hitler and Mao and Stalin. They're anti-war, but they're for mass murder. You're for offensive wars against countries that didn't attack us, but you're against mass murder. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Now, none of you should be compared to Hitler, but if anybody's closer, what do you want me to tell you? So, I mean, come on, man. You guys, you got to step it up a little bit. Like, I'm trying to be kind to you here. You're going to have to step up your propaganda because it's so shitty and it's so obviously shitty that you're not convincing anybody. So just, spend like 45 minutes researching about how you can come up with a better way to weasel out of people advocating for a system that's obviously better. Like, obviously, Scandinavian systems are better than what we have. Obviously. Not even close. All the objective measures and empirical data shows it. So you spend a little bit of time researching to come up with a better weaselly argument to win. Because you're nowhere near winning here, and it's sad. He said at one point, making money is one of the most harmless things you could do in the world. Well, my response to that has been, it depends, doesn't it? So nobody's mad at the accountant. Nobody's mad at the fucking surgeon or the dentist. Nobody's mad at them. Nobody's mad at the fucking professional athlete. Nobody's mad at them. What people are mad at is the outsourcers. People who outsource jobs and have Chinese near slave labor send in cheap goods. And we have a race to the bottom. We have, manufacturing towns, factory towns that are utterly obliterated in this country because the capitalists running those companies wants to make an extra buck and they don't care how many lives they destroy in the process. So people are mad at the outsourcers. People are mad at those who work, poor people, working class people, overtime and still don't even pay them a living wage. So it depends. If you're running sweatshops, yeah, making money is not harmless. If you're outsourcing jobs and destroying towns in the U.S., yeah, that's not harmless. That's not harmless. If you're skirting environmental protections and regulations and you're dumping toxic chemicals into the river, yeah, that's making money and it is harmful. So it depends. It depends. But it says a lot about how shitty of a thinker Ben Stein is when he makes that point. Because he's outing himself as just a sloppy, lazy thinker. Making money is one of the harmless things you could do in the world. Clear eyes has the ability to moisturize. It depends. It depends. It honestly depends how you're making your money, what you're doing in the process. And in many instances, yeah, there's no problem with it at all. In other instances, we got to be serious and we got to regulate and we got to have laws and protections. But he's against that because he's a free market anarchist because he's a clown.